This is West Ham Unofficial. Come on, you Irons. Yes, people, welcome back to West Ham Unofficial. I hope you are all well. We are back with another exclusive West Ham former Hammer interview for you today. I'm delighted to be joined by former West Ham striker Jimmy Quinn. Jimmy, how are you?
I'm great, thanks, Jake.
Thank you. Thank you very much for agreeing to come on.
No problem. Pleasure.
So we will get cracking in just a second. Andy, I hope you are West Ham Reunited. Go over there and make sure you subscribe. But before we get into it, before we start asking Jimmy some questions and getting into the show, please, I would like to thank our channel sponsors, SRM Carver and Son, by checking them out in the description down below. And we will get cracking. Our fantastic channel sponsor here on West Ham Unofficial are SRM Carver and Son. SRM Carver and Son provides crushing, screening and aggregate recycling services across southern England. If you'd like to find out more information on SRM, please click the link in the description down below to check out more information on their website. Thank you very much to SRM Carver and Son for sponsoring West Ham Unofficial, and come on, you Irons. Firstly, Jimmy, a request is in from someone who remembers a game that you were in at Bristol Rovers Way, where you scored and Ludo McCosco saved a last-minute penalty. Can you remember anything from that day?
I remember it very well. It was, I'm sure it was Boxing Day, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
New Year's Day.
Yeah.
It was New Year's Day at Bristol Rovers, and they played. They were having their ground done up, and they played at Bath City.
Yeah,
and it was very daunting. The surroundings. It was a non-league club, and obviously the stand was small, the changing rooms were small. I think there was only 4 of us could get in the shower that day at a time, so it just showed you how small it was. And it was a very important game. You know, every game was, particularly away from home. And at that time, of course, being, West Ham, as we were, everybody we played wanted to beat us, because we were seen as the biggest club in the league at the time. And it was hard work, but I just managed to pop up with a header. I had a couple of near misses just before I scored, and it was just one of those days, as a striker, that you just think that something's going to go your way. And great cross come in from the right-hand side. And to be honest with you, I thought the keeper, I was going to get my head punched off. I thought the keeper would have come off his line, but he didn't. And it left me an easy task of just heading it into the top corner. And that was the goal that won the game. But as you said, Jake, right in the last minute, the last couple of minutes, Bristol Rovers had a penalty, and Ludo McCloskey, who was perhaps one of the best keepers we've ever had, managed to keep it out and made a brilliant save, and we ended up with the 3 points.
Yeah, brilliant. Let's go back to the start of your West Ham career, and how did it all come about of you signing for the Hammers?
Well, I was at Bradford City beforehand, and in December, I'm not sure what the date was, Joe. I think it was about the 12th, around about then. But anyway, we were playing West Ham United at home, and It was one each, and it went into, I think it was the 91st and 92nd minute, and a cross came in from the right hand side, and the lad I played up front at the time, Mark Leonard, he was a big, strong centre forward, very similar to myself. He just managed to flick the ball onto me, and I volleyed it out of the air, and I beat Phil Parkes, who was in goal, who's probably gone down as probably the greatest keeper we've ever had. And I volleyed it right in the corner and won the game for Bradford. And it was only, I think it was a week or 8 or 9 days after that. West Ham had a phone call from Lou McCarley saying he was interested in bringing me down to London. I'll be honest with you, I didn't really want to go, Jake, because I loved it at Bradford. I got on really well with the fans. The season before, when I came to Bradford, they were second from bottom, and I scored, I think it was 8 goals in 12 matches and kept them up. And the second season, of course, we were, playing teams like West Ham, and I remember Watford were in the same league at the time. We were doing well, and I managed to play well and score against both of them. And as I said, I didn't really want to leave Bradford, but Terry Yorath, who was my manager at the time, he had a bit of a fallout with the chairman, a fellow called Jack Tordoff, who he recently passed away. Jack, he had a massive car franchise in Bradford, and he was a chairman. But Terry and himself didn't really see eye to eye. And Terry said to me, "Listen, West Ham have come in for you. Get yourself down there." And I said to him, I said, "I don't really want to go, Terry. I love it here. I'm getting on well with the fans. I'm scoring a few goals, and I'm pretty happy with my home life and everything else." And he said, "Jim," he said, "these opportunities only come along once in a lifetime. Get down there." He said, "I've played at West Ham. It's a great stadium, great fans, great atmosphere." And that really clinched it for me. I from not really wanting to leave after speaking to Terry, I jumped at the chance. And of course, I signed for Lou McCarley, who was my old manager at Swindon Town. But obviously, he didn't last long. He had a court case going on for illegal stuff that was going on at Swindon at the time, illegal betting or whatever, and he ended up leaving. But yeah, and I signed at the same time, Jake, as Trevor Morley and Ian Bishop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice era then. Nice era, that is for sure. Let's take some comments and see who's in the chat tonight. Pete, I hope you are well. Maxie, Pete, I hope you are well. Roy, hope you are well. Luke as well. Luke said, "I had Jimmy's poster on my wall. It replaced the Tony Cotty one." Wished it had worked out better for the guy. Legend in my eyes. Well, there you go, Jimmy. What about that?
That's fantastic. Yeah, obviously Tony Cotty. I seen him at the game on Sunday, in fact, and Tony's a great player, great goal scorer. I was a different type of centre forward. I was decent in the air and I held the ball up and brought other people into play. But Tony was an out-and-out predator, particularly in and around the box. And scored a fair amount of goals himself. He was a terrific player for West Ham.
Yeah. Better players around him, Jimmy would have scored a ton. Reminds me of Harry Kane, little bit of everything. Simon, I hope you are well as well. But who's the best player in your whole career, you'd say, that you ever played with?
Well, I was very fortunate, Jake, because I played international football for 11 years. But the best player, pound for pound, was Julian Dix.
Yeah.
And Julian and I used to live in Billericay, so we used to travel into training all the time. And I got to know the guy, and what a terrific, not only a football, but as a person as well. He would do anything for you, and he just loved it. He didn't like training. He didn't like the fitness side of it, I have to say. Any running, he used to have a moan up, and he didn't like that. And one thing or another, but you put him on a pitch with his kit on and give him a job to do. And I'd have to say, Jake, he was probably the only player that I've played with that could play probably any position on the park. and that includes in goal. He could literally play left back, right back, centre half. He could play midfield, and he could even play up front. I mean, the goals that he used to score in training were just totally amazing for me. And bear in mind, I played international football with people like Pat Jennings, who played international football until I think he was 42 and had over 100 caps. Who was an absolute, and still is, a legend in Northern Ireland, as well as his exploits with Arsenal and Tottenham. Norman Whiteside, who was one of the youngest players to play in the World Cup. I played probably 20 internationals with Norman. I played right up the top, and he played just off me in the hole. Sammy McElroy, Mal Donaghy. These were great players that I was fortunate to play with. But the best player, pound for pound, without a shadow of a doubt, was Julian Dix.
Yeah. What was it like being in the West Ham dressing room and being in and around these fantastic players? Because you were at West Ham in the era where West Ham were doing really well back in the late 80s. What was it like being in that dressing room?
Well, there was a lot of characters, I have to say. There was always a laugh and a joke, and we used to really enjoy ourselves. We used to have a game of golf together, and on the odd occasion we'd go out for a drink. We probably had too much to drink, Jake. The games changed a hell of a lot. It was a bit of a drinking culture at the time. But what I have to say is that when we crossed that white line, it was blood and guts. We wore the shirt with pride, and we went out and tried to do our very best and give it everything we've got. We managed to get promotion that year. We got to the semi-final of the FA Cup. We played on a terrible pitch at Aston Villa. I think they put 45 ton of sand on it. The other semi-final that year was at Wembley. So we had a bit of a moan up that. On top of that, we had the referee Keith Hackett, who sent Tony Gale off, which obviously went along towards losing the match.
Yeah. In that dressing room, who would you say that one player and just person that you got on with the best when you were at West Ham?
Well, I got on well with Julian because I used to travel in with him every day. But one of the players that I really had an affinity with was Tony Gale. And the reason being is that Tony is the exact same age as me. And his birthday, I think, is on the 19th of November, and mine's on the 18th, Jake. So we had this thing because our birthdays were so close. I got on really well with Tony. I seen him on Sunday, in fact, and every time I see him, he makes a fuss of me. I think he was working for Sky on Sunday. Great man, fantastic. Probably a better player than he was given credit for. He won the Premier League with Blackburn when he moved from West Ham. This is a player of vast experience, quality on the ball. He played alongside Alvin Martin, who, as well as we're doing today, you'd go a long way to see a better pairing than that. Alvin Martin was so dominant as a player. He obviously followed on from people like Billy Bonds and Bobby Moore. And obviously Tony Gale played alongside him. So we had a real close thing going on because our birthdays were so close together. And as I say, it's lovely to see him whenever I go to the games at the London Stadium. We always have a chat and reminisce about the old days.
Yeah, definitely. But what was the best game that you thought you ever played for West Ham? Which game stands out for you?
Well, there was many games. We cup games and important league games and stuff. But there was one game in particular that stands out, and it was against Sheffield United at home. It was a midweek game. I think it was a Wednesday night, and we won the game 5-0. And I scored a hat trick. But the funny thing about that game, you think me scoring a hat trick and being the centre forward and everything else, that I would have probably got man of the match, but I didn't. A young Stuart Slater, who was on the wing, absolutely ripped Watford apart that night. There was a fullback called Will Frostrom that played at Watford in the in the top league, played in the top league for many, many years, and Stuart Slater absolutely took him to the cleaners. And he set me up with a couple of the goals. He probably beat. There was one run that he had, Jake. They picked the ball up in our half, and he beat 3 or 4 players, and he squared it to me, and I dummied to shoot, and I dragged it inside, and I just side-footed it in the corner. It was that easy. That's how much of an influence that Stuart had on the game. Great. And it's one of the games that stand out in the time that I was there.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned a hat trick there. A little bit of a trivia question given to me from Hammer. Horrible. How many hat tricks did you get for the Hammers? Did you get any more, or was it just that one?
No, I think that was the only one. I scored quite a few twos. I remember beating Hull City. We beat Hull City 7-0, and I scored the first couple of goals in the game. But then, obviously, into the second half, because we were so comfortable, Billy Bonds, who was our manager at the time, the great Billy Bonds, who was fantastic bloke, fantastic player in his time. I ended up getting substitute, and I think Frank McAvenny went on, and we won that game 7-0. It was unreal. We had so much quality in the team, and so many decent players.
Yeah, definitely. Luke asks, would you like to have played on today's carpet pitches or a lower league mud heap?
Well, I have to say, it was a bit different when I played, Jake, because we used to get kicked up in the air. You used to give it out and you used to take it. These days, because of the cameras and everything else, you can't do that anymore. So you took the rough with the smooth, but it was probably because we were probably targeted. I was targeted being a centre forward because teams were obviously scared of me scoring against him. So the manager would probably tell the centre half, if you get a chance, give him a whack. And a lot of the time, there's one video at West Ham, I think it was against Plymouth Argyle, who had a decent team at the time. And I remember the ball come into me just over the halfway line, and the centre half I ended up being launched about 5 foot in the air. And I was just laying in a heap on the floor, and the referee played on. It didn't even stop the game, and I've got that on video somewhere. It's amazing to see. But that's the way the game was then. You took the rough with the smooth. But I'd have to say, put me on, a bit of a mud heap any day of the week, because when you got kicked, you were able to land softly. These days, because the pitches are so neat and tight, I think that players, when they, land on that surface, they tend to injure themselves a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. But one final question about your playing career is, what was it like walking out to the Upton Park crowd week in, week out for 2 years? And how much of a boost in difficult games did the West Ham fans really give you?
Well, I played for many clubs, as you know. 9 different clubs in the league, and I scored over 300 goals in my career. And I had great times at places like Swindon and Reading, Blackburn Rovers, where I scored a few hat tricks. Scored a couple of hat tricks. One was against Sheffield United away from home, and the other one was at Wolverhampton Wanderers away from home. But I have to say, you'll never experience the atmosphere at any club like you do at West Ham. When at Upton Park, when we came out before the game, the roar and the sound that the fans made, it was just, I felt sorry for the opposition, because they didn't stand a chance half the time. I'm not saying that West Ham won. We won every game that we played at Upton Park, but with the crowd behind you, and all they wanted to see at the end of the day, it wasn't about winning leagues and winning cups or whatever. They just want to see players go out and give it everything they've got. And I was nicknamed Jimmy the Tree because I thought it was because I was big and strong, but apparently I was rooted to the spot. But I knew about movement. I knew how to get in goal scoring positions and stuff. But it was all about going out and playing as well as you can, And if you done that, the fans stuck with you and they got behind you. But the sound they used to make, Jake, was just deafening, and it give you a massive boost, particularly playing at home and away. We should take fast crowds away from home as well, and sometimes the away fans were louder than the home fans. Some of the places we played, and that makes a hell of a difference for you as a player when you're trying to get the right result for the team.
Yeah, you were there on Sunday at the London Stadium to watch West Ham beat Liverpool. Walking out at Upton Park to listening to the atmosphere of what it was like at the London Stadium on Sunday. A lot of people have said that's the best atmosphere they've ever heard at the London Stadium. Is it starting to compare to some days and nights at Upton Park, or do you think that the London Stadium will never reach the heights of what Upton Park did?
Well, you couldn't beat a midweek match at Upton Park. There was just something about it that we just, as players, we just love playing midweek, and the side, with the fans cheering you, from the sideline, and it was an atmosphere. It's very hard to explain, Yeah, I've had good times at other clubs, but nothing like you got at Upton Park, But I have to say, Jake, that the London Stadium, I think the fans are starting to warm to it. At the start, they weren't happy. They didn't want to leave the bowling ground. That was their home. That's where a lot of people lived, near the ground, and it was part of their growing up and their history and everything else. But I think slowly but surely they've come around to start loving the London Stadium, and that is definitely the game on Sunday against Liverpool. That was the best atmosphere that I've heard at the stadium since in the games that I've watched anyway.
Yeah, definitely. That reflects what many people have been saying. But to talk about the current team for a moment, who is your favourite player from the current West Ham squad? Who do you pick out from a fantastic bunch as your favourite player?
Well, when you're an ex-player, you obviously want every player in the team to do well, and I haven't got enough accolades for how well different players are doing in different positions. But the best player for me, pound for pound, without a shadow of doubt, and he's head and shoulders above anything, and he's usually head and shoulders above anything we play as well, is Declan Rice. He is absolutely out of this world. I can't stress enough how good this player is. I've played international football and I've played against some top players, the top players in the world, and I've seen them face to face, but I've not seen anything like Declan for a long time. And he's such a brilliant player. He's got everything in his locker. He's good in the air. He's quick across the ground. His passing, the percentage of his passes, it's just phenomenal. He obviously doesn't break into the box as much, as you'd want him to, because he plays more of a sitting role. But he can score goals. He's just got everything, the lad, and he's an inspiration to Luke, because he's one of them players that he doesn't let anything get him down, and you can see physically that he enjoys what he's doing. He loves playing for West Ham. I've heard people say, "Oh, Man United are after him." Yeah, that might happen 4 or 5 years down the line, but without a shadow of a doubt, for the next 3-4 years, Declan Rice is going to play for West Ham. He's playing for England. He's a regular in the England team, and he's just a fantastic player to watch. And because he's as good as he is, and he's the captain of the team, that inspires everybody else that's playing alongside him, Jake. I know I played, with some terrific captains in the, Sammy McIlroy for Northern Ireland. He was always like, not only leading by example, but he was encouraging you all the time and telling you, "Well done, if you done something good." And Declan is every bit of that. It's such a pleasure for me, being an ex-player. I'm sure it is for the fans that go and watch him every game. To see what a quality player the guy is.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think most West Ham fans echo what you just said. He's an exceptional player. I just hope he stays. Says Roy. Evening. Can we win anything this season? Gary asked, do you think that West Ham will have silverware this season, Jimmy?
Well, I was asked before the season started what I thought West Ham could achieve this season in the league, in the Europa League, and also in the League Cup and the FA Cup. And I said in the league, and at the time, Jake, this was the start of the season. I thought that we were going to sign Lingard from Manchester United. But even though we haven't signed Lingard, I still feel that we can finish in the top 5 or 6. Obviously, we beat Liverpool on Sunday, and everybody's talking about winning the league and all. I think that's probably a little bit unrealistic, but certainly it's not out of our length to get into the top 4. I don't think. I also said that we would get to the Europa League final. I remember I've said this to you, Jake.
I hope you're right. I genuinely hope you're right.
I really do. I really do. I think with David Moyes in charge, the way he organises the team, tactically, the way they can change formation in games, and I've seen the games when they've played Genk recently, and so and we just look fantastic, you know. And that winning thing that you've got, I know as a player, you know, if you can keep that going, it's like a roll, you know, snowball effect. It just keeps. You just keep producing the goods all the time, you know, and I really do think that we've got a terrific chance of getting into the final. The League Cup was another one. I said that we'd definitely get to the semi-finals. I think we're in the quarterfinals already.
Yeah. We got Spurs next. We got Spurs next in the Carabao Cup. So
that's an easy 3 points, isn't it?
Well, there you go. Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, obviously there'll probably be, you know, a different proposition now that Conte's gone in there. But I've seen enough when we beat them the other week that you know, we look more of a team than they did at the minute, you know, or do at the minute, regardless of a new manager coming in, because he can bring his own ideas into the fold, but you know, I think it'll be very difficult for them to just all of a sudden turn around the 4-4, being like a world beating. I think that we've got momentum. And we were playing Spurs, Man United, Liverpool, whoever, you know, you fancy us to beat anybody at the minute.
100%, yeah, and you know, Spurs, Antonio Conte, he's got an average bunch of players there, probably leaving Son and Kane on form to the side. He's got an average bunch there, and I can't see him in a couple of months turning an average bunch into, you know, a top 4 team. I just can't see it. But an interesting question in the chat is which, if you being a striker yourself, which striker would you like to see West Ham bring in January? What do you think would suit West Ham if you could think of somebody?
Well, that's an easy one for me. I think West Ham should push out the boat if we've got the finances to get Lingard. I think that I've seen the games that he played last year, and he made hell of a difference to our side. You know, bearing in mind that we've done really well without him, but he just has that extra little bit of pace off the mark, and he played well with Antonio, and he's one of them that can drop into a deeper position at run at people, and is very, very hard to defend against. You know, and he went back to Manchester United, and I don't think Manchester United had any chance of wanting to play him, and I think they were just after more money, whatever it was. But I really do hope that in the January window, Jake, that West Ham put in a bid for him and offer the right money so we get him, because I think he's the last piece of the jigsaw. I think if we get him, we can definitely go on to greater and better things, i.e., if we get into the Europa final. This is a player that's played and can cope with that type of match without a shadow of doubt. But he just adds that extra dimension to our play that makes us a better side.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think most West Ham fans will as well. He links up well. He's just got everything there. We're going to win the quintuple. The Betway Cup is already in the bag. We're going to win the quintuple. Oh dear. But final question is: you're comparing the two squads together. You've got the 1985-86 team. You know, many of the players were still there when you joined West Ham, and you've got the 2020/21 team. Who are you picking, 85-86 or 2021?
Well, that's a great question. But what I'd have to say was, sort of mentioned it a little bit earlier, that it's a different game today. If you said to me that you're allowed to tackle and you're allowed to do some of the dirty stuff that we used to get away with when we played, I'd definitely say the 86 team. Definitely. But the game isn't like that anymore. You know, you can't go about, you know, putting your foot in and doing a few naughty things off the ball that we used to do. You know, there's that many cameras on you these days that you've got to be squeaky clean, and you can't really. You've got to be 100% certain if you're going to go to ground and make a tackle of connecting with the ball, or else it will be seen as a sending off. Very, very difficult. The stuff that we used to get away with. Obviously, the pitches were different when the 86 team played and everything else. But there was some great players at West Ham then, don't forget, you know, and I think they're definitely on a par with the lads that we've got today, but it's a different game. It's a totally different game. You know, I used to get smashed as a centre forward, and I used to give a bit out. You had to look after yourself, and that was part and parcel of the game. You know, there's players probably in West Ham's team at the minute, if they played the 86 team, they'd be targeted early in the game and probably get a kick from a few of them just to give them a tester to see how the character was, you know. But you're not allowed to do that anymore, of course. You know, the pitches, as you say, they're like bowling greens. They're fantastic. The balls are lighter. You know, I remember playing even at Upton Park when the pitch was like a mud heap, Jake, you know, and the ball would stick in the water and stuff. And it was great. It was great atmosphere, and the fans used to love it. You know, obviously today we're a little bit spoiled. You know, the pitches are absolutely pristine. The balls are lighter. You know, to be honest with you, the players don't really get the kit dirty, do they? You know, we used to come off and you probably couldn't see the West Ham kit. There was that much mud on it when we played some games. But yeah, it's a totally different game altogether, you know. But what I would say is, if you were allowed to tackle and you're allowed to do the other side of the game, I'd go with the 86 team. But that's not to say that we haven't got some great players at the minute. We have. We got a fantastic captain in Declan Rice, probably one of the best players I've seen for many a year. I'm just he's English. I wish he was Northern Irish.
Oh yeah, definitely. Let's head into the chat. We've got a couple more questions to go through. Firstly, Anton, hopes you are well. What a great interview. Well done. Thank you very much. Great show. Thank you very much, Hugh. But a couple of questions. Luke firstly says, back in your day, clubs didn't have a squad, but would you be happy being a super sub or squad man / backup striker?
For West Ham?
Yeah.
Any day of the week. Any day of the week. You know, I obviously, you know, played in a lot of people's first teams. You know, it's great being picked to play in the team. But, you know, it's just good being part of a squad that all the lads want to do well, and you're heading for you've all got the same goal in mind, that you want to do well for the team and get into a decent position, whether it's promotion or win a cup or whatever. Yeah, all day long. You know, you can see that at West Ham. You can see, you know, when David Moyes changes the team around, puts some of the other lads in, they give it everything they've got, and that's what you need as a manager. You don't want to see people sulking because they're not being picked or they're not being played. You need everybody on side. It's a squad game more than anything these days, and it's so important that all the players have the right attitude that helps the manager, and it's a little bit easier for him to do his job. But you can see that the biggest thing that stands out for me at the minute, Jake, is all the players are so happy to roll the sleeves up and go out and give it everything they've got, whether they're in the team to start with or whether they come off the bench. Everybody's, trying to do the very, very best for the team.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Hammer says, do you have some treasured possession from your time at West Ham, like a match ball shirt or boots?
No, I don't. I haven't. I've had a lot of my ex-clubs contact me about ex-shirts and that, but I wasn't really one for collecting shirts. I've got a couple of international shirts and stuff, but and I've got a very a shirt that I got off a fella called Falcao that played for Brazil. That was in 1986 World Cup. We played at the in Mexico, and I got injured out there, Jake. I couldn't play, and he was injured as well. And as we were walking off the pitch, I asked him for his shirt, and we swapped shirts. And it's a nice little memento to have. But I'm not one for keeping shirts. I've given a lot of stuff away to my children. They've got caps and shirts of mine, and I've given some to some of my longest friends and stuff. But I'm not one to keep stuff like that,
Yeah. Mark says Lou Macari made some great signings, including Jimmy. Thank you for your time tonight, Jimmy. Great work, Jake. Thank you very much, Morgan. Thank you very much, Jimmy. Last question from Hugh, who is a Cardiff fan, says, did Jimmy play at Ninian Park?
Yes, I did. Cardiff,
yeah.
wasn't it? Yeah. I played there for Bournemouth and Reading, I think. I didn't play for West Ham there, but I got a bad injury there one night. We played, and I think it was -4 degrees, Jake, and I went up for I think it was a goal kick from our keeper. They come up, and I used to sort of jump across centre halves in them days, and I got quite a bit off the floor, and the centre half made it back, and I ended up falling over him, and my hand. My left hand went straight into the ground, and it was frozen, and I broke my middle finger, and had all sorts of problems with it. I ended up having 3 or 4 operations on that, because I fell on it. That was for Harry Redknapp, who obviously went on to become West Ham manager. I went from there to Bournemouth from West Ham. I was leading goal scorer there, and enjoyed playing for Harry. He was a good manager. I didn't. I've not got very good memories in Ninian Park. In fact, I don't think I've ever won there. I used to score goals nearly everywhere. There's one year at Reading, I scored 40 goals, and they ended up getting the Golden Boot. I was the top goal scorer in the country. And
not bad.
Yeah, we played at Ninian Park. And they beat us 3-1. It could have been 10. So they were one of our bogey teams, Cardiff. That had a special atmosphere, obviously, for the Cardiff fans, and it was a little bit intimidating playing there at times. But no, I've not had a good time at Ninian Park at all.
Yeah. John, I hope you are well for 9's point of view balance. Enjoying listening. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much, John. Greatly appreciated. Nice to hear a little bit about your career, Jimmy. Top bloke. I'm going to look for your hat-trick versus Sheffield United. All the best, sir. And the final question we will leave. So Kent, who's put this comment, Jimmy, is like the West Ham mastermind. He's like, he knows everything about West Ham, and he says, he says Jimmy was part of the 1991 FA Cup run. What is your best memory of that FA Cup run, Jimmy?
Well, obviously we got to the semi-final, which was magnificent, and even though we were getting beat 4-0, the sound our fans were, I just couldn't believe it. It was absolutely out of this world. We were getting beat 4-0, and a young Roy Keane was playing for Nottingham Forest that day. Obviously we were up against it. Tony Gale got sent off. Keith Hackett was the referee on the day and got it all wrong for me. It was a wrong decision. The lad Crosby that played for Forest was diving about the place. He wasn't injured at all, but that influenced the ref and getting Tony sent off, and that really did give us a mountain to climb. But I'll never forget the fans on that day. It was just it was something else, and the fans even enjoyed it. I mean, it was amazing to hear. Weeks after that, the fans were saying on social media and everything else, and in the newspapers, how much they enjoyed the game, even though we lost the game 4-0. But we obviously as players, we felt absolutely gutted for a lot of reasons. Because obviously, when you're in the semis, you're dreaming of getting to the final to play at Wembley. That didn't happen. And obviously you want to win the game for the fans, for your family and everything else. And when you end up getting beat 4-0, it puts such a downer on the thing. It was unbelievable, but can't praise the fans enough for that. I've never seen anything like that in football since then, or even after. I've had great times at some of the clubs I've been at, where the fans have been fantastic, but I've never seen anything like the West Ham fans at that semi-final.
Yeah, and Kent says there, singing Billy Bonds' Claret and Blue Army, indeed. Luke says, cheers, Jimmy, all the best. Thanks for the memories. Hats off to the legend, Jake. So thank you very much, Luke. That is greatly appreciated. But we will leave it there. Jimmy, I'd like to say a huge thank you for coming on tonight.
Jake, you're doing a fantastic job. Really enjoyed it, mate. And good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much, and let's hope we get to some sort of final this year. That would make all of our years. But if you've watched this, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and subscribe to the channel. That's the key. We are just over 50 away from 2,000 subscribers. So hit that like button and subscribe button as well. Thanks for everybody in the chat for their questions, and come on, you irons from me and Jimmy, and we will catch you next one. Thanks again, Jimmy, and we'll see you.